Good morning. It is Saturday, March 14th, and this is video one in a 5-part series doing a dietary update. I did a 5-part series a little over a year ago, diving into a low-carb experience that I started about a little over 2 years ago, and this is revisiting and talking about an overview of the whole experience and how I shifted in the past year. Start with a disclaimer, and then talk a little bit about my path to date, and a little bit about what I'll be talking about in the next 4 videos. So first off, I have no medical certifications, I have no schooling, and I'll be speaking based off of anecdotal experiences, personal experiences, and my own understanding and research. But it is a topic that is a little daring, and I am rolling the die with my health. The studies are there's a lack of studies about low carb, especially the path that I have gone, and the medical establishment is not on board with what I am. And I'll dive or I'll introduce what I'm talking about in this video, and then I'll dive deeper in a following video. So first off, I am turning 44 this August. When I turned 40, it was a bit of a punch in the gut, a fatty gut. I was about 30 plus pounds more than I am now, at 187 or 88, and I'm down to 155 or so, 156. I started doing Jiu-jitsu for a number of reasons, Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, and as I dived into that, I was not satisfied with myself. I got a competitive bug, just within the academy, not competing in tournaments so much, although I did try that once, and it was a great experience, and recommend it for anyone and everyone, and to try it at least once. It was a motivating factor for me to discipline myself about my diet, and I recognized in myself a problem with sweets. I had a sweet tooth, which means I would I was insulin resistant. I would eat a very rich, sweet foods, and I enjoyed it. I wanted more. So my first step was to be more picky, and so I stopped with the corn syrup and limited myself to cane sugar. Seems like a small thing, but it worked to limit my intake of birthday, just party foods that were scattered around work over the course of my work week. Especially, I was doing okay at home, but especially at work, there was just, as far as healthy foods at home, but at work there's always something, always somebody's birthday, always some event, and I would just wonder, there's always food left out in public spaces, donuts, and limiting myself, being picky, being a little snooty about the quality. Cane sugar based or honey based sweets were more expensive, and they tended to be less bad for the body. Corn syrup, I believe, is one of those demons. Perhaps not as bad as trans fats, but it's up there. And that, maybe combined with a little bit of extra exercise with jiu-jitsu, although I was already fairly active, helped me to feel better and get a little healthier, a little more controlled discipline. And then a little over 2 years ago, I stepped it up, was hearing through numerous sites, and personalities such as Joe Rogan that about low carb, paleo, ketogenic based diets, being a fat burner and instead of a sugar burner, basically. And I also was interested in intermittent fasting. With my limited bandwidth, I was finding my brain just wasn't up to the task of consistent high-level editing at night after everybody went to bed. And I was also having some physical trouble recovering from Jiu-jitsu. So as I learned about the benefits of intermittent fasting or fasting in general and shifting to a fat-burning diet with regard to mental clarity after meals and reducing inflammation, which speeds recovery and does many positive things, I dived in. And over the course of about a month, I shifted to a low-carb diet. Didn't have any of the negatives. Didn't have the keto flu, I think, because I had already been pulling away with my baby step of shifting from corn syrup to cane sugar and then taking my time. I really was treating this and have treated it as a dietary shift, not a 30-day cleanse, but something that is permanent, something that I will stick with for the rest of my life. And as I said in the previous videos, or maybe the article I wrote about it, this is one of the 3 best decisions I've made in my life. The other 2 being marrying a Japanese woman and getting a land trust home, a community land trust home. So my next 4 videos, I will, first one, I think I'll dive into how I'm becoming my own nutritionist and how I recommend everyone do this to some extent. With the internet, there's ignorance is a choice, and there's no reason not to be more educated. And I think there's a real lack in the quality of professional nutritionists in the United States, at least. It's and I'll dive into that. I think my own experiences with my general practitioner, a nutritionist, and a heart doctor. It's been interesting. My next one, I think, will be about something called lean mass hyperresponder, which is essentially I'll talk about cholesterol blood tests, lipid panels, and how when you're on a low carb diet, especially if you get into more of a carnivore diet, your LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, and even though LDL isn't actually cholesterol, but the vehicle to transport cholesterol, is called the bad cholesterol, but it's not that simple. And how having a high number as a lean mass hyperresponder is not necessarily a bad thing if you take into account what your HDL to triglyceride ratio is. So diving into that. Next one, I think I'll dive into carnivore diet and my dipping my toe into that, and becoming more knowledgeable about anti-nutrients, specifically oxalates, and what I think was a misstep in my own diet in the quantity of nuts and chocolate I was consuming, and how that may have affected my sleep, and also paying attention to electrolytes and some of the minor symptoms I was getting with cramps, leg cramps at night, and just little adjustments. Part of being a guinea pig with a dietary path that doesn't have mainstream medical support. And then maybe the last video will be some step-by-step advice for following your own path. Maybe breaking down how I've gotten where I am, the struggles that I still have, and my approach and what I think would work for people in general, and maybe a few specific examples based on people that I know and what they're trying. So have a great Saturday. I just bumped the table there. Sorry about that. And I will talk to you soon.